Welcome, Samra. It's an absolute pleasure to be talking with you. I am so grateful. Of course, thank you. In fact, I know you have multiple initiatives that you undertake apart from your day-to-day. And I'm really grateful that you made time.
Absolutely. I'm grateful that you reached out to me.
Wonderful. Tell us a little bit more for people who are going to get to know you for the first time. How would you define yourself?
I would define myself as a change maker, somebody who leans into change and somebody who wants to create positive change and impact. And it all started, with my own personal journey of being forced into a child marriage at the age of 16 and escaping a decade of violence, pursuing my education, fighting my way out of abuse, and eventually graduating and building a new life of respect for myself and my daughters. And at that point, I was faced with a choice in my life that do I just want to take my success and my awards and my degrees and my fancy new job and live happily ever after, which there's nothing wrong with it, absolutely justifiable and acceptable. But there was this hunger in me, and there was this desire to do something with it. That I knew that my story isn't just mine. This is the story of millions and millions of women and girls around the world. And when we go even beyond that, millions of people, whatever gender around the world, who are suffering in silence or hiding bits and pieces of who they are, or bogged down by adversity and not able to move on and move up because of societal constructs or prejudices or injustice. And I just wanted to do my part to make a difference. I started sharing my story 7 years ago, and it's evolved and snowballed into now a full-time career where I do a lot of speaking and advocacy around the world. I have a book which is now being turned into a film, and it keeps continuing. My path just keeps going, and every day I feel like I'm just getting started.
What a celebration of your achievements! I am so proud to know you.
Thank you.
There are a lot of people who would choose to take the easier route. Yes, struggle through whatever they're going through, but then when they're successful, they just keep it to themselves. But you have gone above and beyond and, shared that happiness, because this gives hope. This is hopeful to know that
by sharing our truth, we do give the gift of hope to others, because no matter what we go through in life, we're not the only ones going through it. And the biggest lesson I've learned in my life is that with success comes responsibility. So, I feel privileged to be able to do this work. And I feel honored that I have the ability and the voice to be able to give other people their voices back and to touch lives and create impact. Just 3 days ago, I received a handwritten letter from 3 girls in Kashmir, India, who had read my book, and they told me how much it impacted them and made, helped them believe in their own dreams. And a line that they wrote is, because of you or your book and your voice, we will never give up on our dreams. And I couldn't stop crying the entire day. And it just reminds me that this is why I do what I do. The fame and the awards and everything, yeah, that's great. But for me, that's just another platform to touch more lives. So sorry, I just got to start here.
No, I feel you. I know what you mean when you say that, because that one message that actually shares how you've been able to impact a person positively, it's valued.
It's the world.
More than anything.
There's nothing more fulfilling in life. The joy that I get when I get these messages, and I get dozens of them every day, and they just touch my heart and they remind me of why I need to keep doing this work. It's just so fulfilling and so empowering.
Which is phenomenal. I know you also have a full career, because I get that question a lot. Oh, you have your full career and you do so many other things, but how do you find the time to be speaking and creating all the other pieces where you're giving, constantly giving, with your webinars, with your presentations? How do you find the time for it?
You make time. Some people ask me, oh, you do all of this, where's your me time? And I said, this is my me time. This is what I love doing. Nothing gives me more joy than doing this work. It lights a fire in my belly, the spark of my life. It's just magical. So I don't feel like I'm deprived of something. I still take a lot of time for myself. I travel a lot. I love traveling. I've been to 41 countries so far. And my goal is by the time I'm 40 years old, I want to hit 60 countries, which right now, from the way it looks like, travel is completely out. So I don't know, maybe I'll have to stretch that goal out a little bit more. It's really a matter of prioritizing. And secondly, it's also about aligning yourself with the right opportunities and knowing when something is not working for you anymore. So, for instance, I've aligned myself to roles and companies that will allow me to do and grow the work that I do. And then when it doesn't work anymore, you know when to part ways as well. So I've done that, and it's all on cordial terms, but you just have to know yourself and your priorities. Like, for example, I'm now in that situation where my speaking and advocacy work has grown to such a level that I cannot do a regular, typical 9-to-5 bank job, right? So I'm having those conversations and thinking of how I can pivot, whether it's in banking, whether it's a different career, whether it's something else, whether it's maybe going back to school and pursuing my doctorate, or like or just going full time into entrepreneurship. So I'm figuring that out, but having that clarity that this work is non-negotiable. Like, I'm not going to, this is what my life revolves around. This is my purpose. And then finding the other things that enable me to live that purpose. And once you operate from that mindset, you find it. But you have to be very flexible, and you have to be very innovative and think outside of the box.
That's so powerful that you mentioned this, because this happens to be again a common thread between us. You have to choose your careers in a way where,
and it's going to look unorthodox, because if I think about banking, I've been in banking for now 7 years, and you think about banking, and instantly, there's a prescribed path to, you make manager, and then you go senior manager, and then you go a director, and then you become SVP, and you basically there's a path that's outlined for you. 2 years in this role, and then 3 years in this role, and at this level, and all. So I've done that. Like I've been a manager, I've been a senior manager, I've been a director, and now I'm leading a team. But I have been. But the thing is that in my case, the path is unorthodox because my goals are not traditional, right? Like the other people who are in those traditional roles, in the traditional path, they don't have something like this passion on the side, which is taking over everything else, and there's this big purpose where they're traveling the world and writing books and things like that. And that is something that I'm not going to give up on. So I am pursuing a second book. The first book is being turned into a TV series, so that's going to be a lot of work. I am going to continue doing speaking. I do want to keep giving back. I'm doing a lot of stuff right now during COVID, webinars and other initiatives. So that's the core. So now it's a matter of, okay, if this isn't working, then find something that works, find something that fits. So instead of fitting yourself into a traditional box, find, break that box and find the opportunities and roles and the things that fit into your life. So you have to just take ownership and flip things around.
So if I was to ask you on, I really want to kind of unpeel that particular piece a little more. There are a lot of people who might argue that, now that you are stable, you have all of this, you have the ability or the flex room, the financial flex room, let's put it like that, to be able to make those choices. How is it possible for someone who doesn't have that?
I will say absolutely, when people say that, it's right. When I started in banking, I did not have that flex room. I did put in my 6-7 years to get to a level where I can be in a position to choose. So, and I am in a level now, let's say if I start doing speaking work full time, and 2 years later, if I decide to go back and get a corporate job, I can absolutely do that. I'm highly employable. So you have to take detours, you have to take step backs, you have to figure it out. And I'm very grateful for the time that I've had in my corporate life, because it's allowed me to build networks and skills and credibility, and have the financial cushion to be able to grow this work. And until now, my advocacy and speaking work was like this little side hobby that I was doing on the side of my corporate career, right? And now that it is no longer a hobby, it's grown to a full-fledged, life mission. So now I'm in a point to choose, okay, where do I want to align myself? How do I find the things that fit into this purpose, and then continue to grow it? So it's really a matter of knowing that, but doing that at the right time. I wouldn't have been able to make this decision 3 years ago, or even 2 years ago, right? So because the first few years of me doing speaking work, it was all on my own time, on my own cost. I never got paid a dime for it. Mm-hmm. And now I'm being paid for it, and I'm being paid very well for it. So now I'm in the position to make that decision. So so you have to know what's right for you and when. Another simple example, there's a course that I've been meaning to take for a while. And I thought, okay, well, you know what, during this COVID time, I don't have a lot going on, and you're at home, I have more flexibility, so I'll take this course. But at the same time, it costs quite a bit of money, and it's gonna take a little bit of a hit to my savings nest egg. I was like, given the fact that you don't, right now with this COVID time, you don't know when it's gonna end. You don't know if it's gonna be 2 months or 6 months or more. So maybe it's not pragmatic to take this course and spend thousands of dollars. So what are other things that I can do? And then I found some other courses that are much less money, and those are things I've been meaning to learn anyway, and read books and self-teach and self-learn all of those things that I wanted to learn. So you have to be, you can't just put blinders, oh, this is what I'm going to do, and I'm going to do it no matter what. You have to take calculated risks. And yes, certainly if I was thinking about this course 3 months ago, no issue, I'm going to do it. I mean, I'm going to make the money in one speech. But now it's like, no, I can't, because even though I do have savings, but I also know that all my speaking for the next 6-7 months has completely been wiped out, right? Like my calendar was full, and now it's all blank.
So I know. And in fact, I was following that part that you were doing a Canada-wide tour, and then
I was doing North America-wide. I was in States a few times. I was all across Canada. So that season was over, thankfully. My last big speech was on Friday, the 13th of March, which is when all these measures started to come into account. But going forward for the next 6-7 months, there's nothing. So there's no income coming in. So I need to be. I can't spend thousands of dollars that I normally would have been able to had the situation been the way it was. So that means adjusting, pivoting, being a little bit pragmatic, maybe taking a step back or a detour or some other way of finding, the same knowledge that I could have learned from that course, I can actually learn by myself, taking other things and reading books. So that's what I'm doing. So basically the point of sharing this is that there will be obviously things you want to do, but you have to also be flexible enough to pivot and take a step back and take detours and go around some things. And sometimes it means holding off on your plans a little bit because of whatever the situation is right now. So having but make them calculated.
Yeah, having that understanding and awareness of what needs to happen first to be able to enable you to get to the goal.
You have to do what you need to do in order to be able to do what you want to do.
Which is a wonderful way of doing it. Now, you were talking about the COVID situation. How has that impacted you in your personal space? How are you staying grounded?
It's difficult, it's very up and down. Like the first week or so, I was like, fine, I need downtime, because I had been traveling nonstop. And I've been on 17 flights in the space of 3 weeks, and I was just so tired. I'm like, actually, this is not bad. I'll just stay home, and I'll, because initially we were thinking it's going to last 2 weeks, right? So I thought 2 weeks of downtime. But now I think because we have no idea how long this is going to last, we're talking months, we're not even near the peak of it. So it's starting to affect me a bit more, and it's up and down. Like yesterday I had a really tough day. I was feeling anxious throughout the day. I was feeling really like, oh my God, like what is the world even going to look like when we come out the other side of it, right? And I miss hugging people. I miss going out with my friends. I mean, the things we take for granted. I'm calling up a friend, hey, you want to get together for drinks, or just going over somewhere. Like I miss my best friend so much. We used to go over to each other's house at least 3-4 times a week, and now like that's not happening. It's hard, and I'm really grateful and thankful that I have my children. I just feel for the people who live by themselves. It must be so lonely, and then you think about the healthcare workers and the elderly and the people in senior homes, and like women who are being abused at home and have no outlet now because he's not going to work and she's not going to work. It just breaks my heart. And then there's another thing that happened. I was just kind of, I'm like, there was a moment when I was like, I don't have any right to feel sad because I'm in so much of a better position than millions of other people. I have a roof over my head. I've got a fridge stocked full of food, and I've got my kids. I've got income and all of that. So I don't have any right to feel sad. And then I stopped myself right there. Like, no, I have the right to feel the way I feel. Like here I am, sitting and invalidating myself. Yes, there are tons of people who have it worse. And my heart goes out to them. And at the same time, I have the right to feel sad. So both those two things can be true at the same time.
Yeah. Everybody has their own reality.
And I think it's important to be kind to yourself and also reach out and do whatever you can to give back. And this is why I'm running all these webinars and things that I'm doing right now.
So tell us more about what you're doing in your personal time and how you're structuring it.
Yeah, so there's 3 or 4 initiatives that I've got going on. So the webinars is something that I started 3 weeks ago when the whole thing started, and I was like, I just feel really disconnected from everybody else, and I'm sure that others feel the same way. So what can I do? So I started 2 times a week. I run these webinars, and once a week it's just me with whoever wants to join in. And then the other session is to bring in a guest. So we talk about different topics. Like I did one webinar on what if thoughts. How your worry thoughts run away with you. Like you read something on social media, like people are getting laid off, and then you're like, oh, what if I lose my job? And then what if I lose my income? And what if I'm not able to make rent? And then what if my landlord kicks me out? And then what if I'm homeless? And then, so it starts a chain reaction.
It's a spiral.
There's a bunch of different initiatives that I have under the whole webinar. So it's Mondays and Thursdays. So Mondays is usually just me, and then Thursdays is with a guest. And it's open to everybody. Anyone can join in from all across the world. So that's something really, really great going on. And then on Friday nights, I'm doing virtual book clubs. So the first one was last night, and this is for anyone who has either read my book or hasn't read it but is interested in talking about topics that my book covers, or just wants to have a conversation. Pour yourself a glass of wine, or make yourself a cup of coffee and just join in. It's an open invitation. And last night I had about 10 women join in, and we had a great conversation around the book and some of the topics that it covers. So that's going really well. And that's going to happen every Friday night at 8 p.m. And then on Mondays at 8 p.m., I'm starting a domestic violence focused virtual support group. So that is for women who are either affected, or they think they're affected, or they know someone who is. So it's women only for now. And you can join in and just have a conversation. And I'll be covering different topics that fit into domestic violence umbrella. Bringing some guests, and bringing in a couple of weeks a family lawyer to talk about what some of your rights are, in terms of custody and child support and things like that. I'm also going to bring in somebody to talk about the impact of emotional and psychological abuse, and then obviously my own learnings and teachings that I do. But that space is intended to raise awareness, and because I'm reading more and more reports around how domestic violence is on the rise because of COVID and the isolation, because isolation is an abuser's dream.
Mhm.
And it's the biggest tool that abusers use to control their victims is to isolate them from everybody else. And now it's being handed to them on a silver
Yeah,
platter, right? It's
absolutely,
basically
which is so
COVID
heartwarming.
is writing abusers a blank check.
Mhm.
It's and women have no reprieve. They have nowhere to go. They can't just go to their friend's house. They can't just go to school or go to work and have an outlet. And the abuser is not going anywhere. And add on the stress of being laid off or losing income or financial stress or crisis. The victim becomes a punching bag for the abuser. Even in my marriage, the abuse always escalated during times of crisis and financial stress. So so it just breaks my heart, and this is an initiative to do whatever I can to help right now.
Which is so heartwarming that you're not only doing it personally, but you're inspiring others to make sure that they are aware and they are connected and they are doing the steps that are necessary. Kudos to you for that, Samra. I really also, both of us
Please
come
spread
from
the word.
yes, of course, absolutely, without a doubt. Also, more importantly, both of us are from South Asian backgrounds, and I know the kind of stigma that is attached to this piece.
Yeah.
For a person, that kind of multiplies many times when you are also dealing with a cultural nuance.
Yeah.
The one I would say thing that has happened because of this pandemic is the humane side or the kind side of people has come to the forefront, which is, I guess, I hope and I believe that it continues.
Yes, I think there's a lot of silver linings to what's going on, as horrible as it is, and especially considering the mass deaths that are happening. It's just terrible. At the same time, there's always goods and bads to everything, right? And that doesn't mean that what's happening is okay. It's absolutely not. It's terrible. And at the same time, you want to look for things that can give you some kind of solace in this time. And I think one of these is the importance of human connection. People are realizing how deeply interconnected we really are. So this idea of, this just happens back there in third world countries doesn't affect us. No, that doesn't apply. We are so deeply connected. That's something that started off in some remote corner of the world is now affecting us here in the entire world, right? And that goes for anything. So we can't just say, child marriages just happen somewhere in India, so we don't care. Or as long as there's like somebody else is being affected by cancer, not me, so it doesn't affect. Whatever happens to one of us affects all of us. And that's why it's so important to realize when we are in the position of privilege to be able to give back. It's so important to realize that we've got that power to make a difference, and use that. That's true power is in empowering other people and connect with each other. And it doesn't have to be some big grand scheme of things. I mean, even a small thing, like a little smile, some words of kindness, dropping off groceries or home cooked food for somebody. It's just that can go a long way.
That's a beautiful thought. Any tips that you have for people who are navigating either an employment challenge or some other challenge? I know abuse is close to your heart. So people experiencing, especially women experiencing violence, do you have any tips for them?
Yeah, I think, so like I said, it's very easy for me to sit here and say, just leave. But I know the reality is very different. It takes a long time to leave. Leaving is never linear. Even in my time, I left and either was sent back or went back 5 times before I was finally able to leave. So, I know how hard it is. So I'm not going to say that, why don't you just leave? You'll find a way. No, it's really hard. And my heart goes out to all the women that are in that situation. Because I didn't have COVID during my marriage, but there were other things that happened that were similar. So isolation is really hard. So whatever you can do to connect with others, do that. Like maybe it's reading some books. Maybe it's just taking some courses. Like one of the things that in my marriage, I wasn't allowed to go out of the house or go to a regular high school, but I was given permission to to study from home. So I ordered online courses through the Independent Learning Center, and that's how I finished my high school diploma. There are a lot of free learnings online right now. I'm doing a course on Coursera, and it's on positive psychology, and it's really fascinating, and it teaches you a lot of motivation and resilience skills and things like that. Reach out to friends and family and people who you trust. There's a lot of different helplines and resources that are available. Assaulted Women's Helpline, for example, is a great resource, which I used to call all the time during my marriage. So that's another resource you can avail. And there's a lot of really, there's a lot of shelters who are putting some more measures in place. If the shelters are getting over capacity, they're actually putting women up in hotel rooms and things. So there is support out there. Give them a call and just reach out. There is help available. Connect in whatever way that you can, and know that this too shall pass. This is temporary. This too shall pass. And so, like I said, leaving is never linear, and it involves a lot of little steps. So take whatever little step you can, because every step you take, you're one step closer. And as far as the job stuff is concerned, I would say that this is a time of really deep reflection and reinvention. For me, it has been profound the past 3 weeks, all the things that I've thought about and the university programs that I've explored and the paths that I've thought that this is something I could do or whatever. And I think some of the things that have come forth for me have been how passionate I am about education and academia. And it has always been my dream to go and do my doctorate. And I've put it off. I thought, oh yeah, I'll do it when when my kids are much older and when I have nothing else to do and all of that. And this time has really made me reflect that how short and unpredictable life is, and how fragile life is. And who knows what's going to happen a year from now, 6 months from now, and let alone all the big plans we make for like when I'm in my 60s, I'll do this, right? I don't know even if we left till that time, right? So I think
fingers crossed.
We will, okay. Yes, but you know what I mean. Like life is short, so I have been like, instead of having a 10-year plan, let me see if I can expedite it to a 1-year plan. And I've started to study for my GRE, which is a graduate exam that I need in order to apply for doctoral programs in the US and Canada. So I was like, that's what I'm going to do right now. And I don't know if I'll apply this year or next year, whatever, but at least I have something under my belt and I have the record to do it. So, to use this time for reflection. Learning is a big thing. Whenever you're learning and you're utilizing your brain for something productive and you're expanding it, automatically you feel better. So it's very empowering, at least for me. And that's a tool that I'm using right now. So by taking some courses and learning new skills and things, is really helping me raise my level of coping. And then also, take advantage of all the resources that are available. We're very lucky to be in a country and where there's a lot being done by the government and the politicians to put in place some like relief measures and financial relief measures and things like that. So take advantage, do your research, and then connect with whoever you can. Network. Right now, people are hungry for connection. So people who you normally, how you get all these requests on LinkedIn for coffee, I get them all the time. And as much as I'd love to have coffee with everybody who reaches out to me, I can't. It's not possible because
Trust me, I know what you mean. I exactly know what you mean. There's only so many connections that you can respond to, and there's only so many connections that you can provide a whole piece of advice to. I mean,
right now is the time to do it. Because people they have more time on their hands, and you're not meeting somebody in person for coffee, that they have to carve out a whole hour for it. Because even if you say half an hour coffee, well, that means taking the elevator and then going down and going to whatever coffee shop and then coming back up, and then it takes a full hour right out of your day, and that's not feasible. But right now with Zoom and technology, You can say, hey, can I have a virtual conversation? Can I have a Zoom conversation for 15, 20 minutes? And that is just 15, 20 minutes. So people are more readily available to carve time out. And that's what I've started to do. So, for example, in November, I was named as one of Canada's top 100 most powerful women. And one of the things I've been meaning to do was to reach out to all the other women, all the other winners, and just connect with them. And I just didn't have the time because I've been so busy. But now I do. So I've now started to reach out to them one by one to, send them emails. Hey, we're fellow winners. I'd love to connect and learn what you do and share about what I do and see if we can discover some synergies, or if not, just inspire each other. Right. So, and everybody is like, yes, thank you. We'd love to talk. Right. Whereas like in other ways, they wouldn't. And so now that I've reached out to them and I'm building these connections with them, when things do get back to normal, I have more of a network, and I can reach out to more people and say, hey, I'm offering this workshop, or I'm offering this speech, or maybe you want to come with me to this event, or, can I contribute some way to what you're doing, or can I help you with something that you're doing? And that's how you build your network. So now is a great time for networking. So use
what an important piece of advice that you've given, Samra. I really appreciate this conversation, because if somebody like you, who has already a pool of network that they could have tapped into, they don't need to build, is taking the time to grow. Imagine what other people who do not have that.
Yeah, reach out to people. Right now, whoever is reaching out to me, I'm having coffees with, like virtual coffees with them.
This is amazing. Totally, what a great example to share.
And I'm doing webinars, and one of the other things is that a lot of influencers, a lot of people like myself are doing free webinars and things. Join them. You'll meet other people in there too. So there's actually, since the past 3 weeks, there have been a few people who are now regulars in all my webinars, and they're showing up week after week. And I'm telling you, like, once this stuff dies down, if they reach out to me and say, hey, can you help me with something? I'm there, right? Because I've developed that connection with them. Right. So take the time out to build those connections, and now they're connected with each other too. So this is a great time to build your network.
Awesome piece of advice. I know you're a wonderful person, and you constantly give through so many of your initiatives. If we were to shine the light on you, and if you had a magic wand that you could ask a wish from, and this wish has to be for yourself, just yourself, what would that be?
The ability to do my work full time. The ability to just be able to do this all the time, I think. And I'm already working towards that wish. I think, my mentor asked me this question, that if I just gave you, $10 million, and I said, you never have to work another day in your life, would you still continue doing your speaking, advocacy, and all this work? I said, absolutely, without question. This is what I live for. This is what I live and breathe. This is what I strive for. This is what adds joy and meaning to my life. So that's what I want more than anything.
I so wish that for you, and I believe you'll do it, because you have the drive. You are somebody who acts, just not think, but acts on the intent, and that is what it takes to be successful and achieve the goals that you have set out for yourself, which is so wonderful. Okay, so Samra, what would be that one parting gift that you would want to share with everyone that they can utilize as a tangible outcome?
So a few things. First of all, one of the biggest lessons I've learned in my life is that courage and confidence is not the absence of fear and self-doubt. And it's about knowing that, yes, I'm afraid. Yes, I'm doubting myself. Yes, I am bogged down by fear and by anxiety. And I'm still going to take a step forward and do it. So oftentimes I get messages from people who say, oh, you're superwoman, or you're superhuman, you can do this, I can't. And I always say, no, I'm human, just like every one of you. The difference is just that when you fall, when you fail, which is inevitable, that's life. Right now is a big example of that. Life is hard, but do you choose to stay down, or do you choose to get back up and try one more time? So each time you try, each step you take forward, you're one step ahead. So focus on that journey. And as much as we want to look at that big mountain that we need to climb, whether it's a big degree that we want to do or a new career that we want to get into or anything. It can be sometimes intimidating. Like, how am I going to do this? Oh my gosh. So always keep your eyes on the next step. Keep your focus on that big goal, but your eyes on the next step. Mm-hmm. And when I was starting I didn't even have high school when I got married, and I was in grade 11. And so I had to complete my high school to get into university, and then university was a big, big task. So if I let myself, let's say, think about that, and oh my God, it took me 10 years, 15 years to finish my high school and undergrad, because when I got married, I was 16, and when I graduated, when I was 31, 32. So it was a very long journey. But if I had thought of like, oh, how am I going to climb this mountain? It's just impossible. It would have been impossible. But I kept my eyes on the next test, the next exam, the next assignment, the next course. And one by one, you keep climbing, and then you look down later on, you're like, oh my God, I've climbed so high. Yes, I can keep going.
Look at you now. This is so amazing.
So you keep your eyes on the next step, keep your focus on your goal. Don't give up, no matter what. So be fluid, go around, go under, go over, whatever you need to do. But find a way. You will find a way. If you have that drive, you will absolutely find a way. And be kind to yourself. Be really kind to yourself. It's okay to fall. It's okay to fail. It's okay to feel anxious. We're all humans. And I think we're really hard on ourselves oftentimes. And we think our vulnerability makes us weak. No, our vulnerability is what makes us strong. And it's what makes us relatable. So be your own big champion and be your own biggest hero, and just stand in front of a mirror and give yourself pep talks when you need it, even if there's no one else. Even when I was in the first early years of my marriage, I had no hope of ever being able to go to university. I had no hope of ever being able to pursue my education. It was the worst of abuse. It was in those first few years. I would still stand in front of a mirror with a piece of paper rolled up in my hand like a fake degree, and I would practice my graduation speech. And 10 years later, I delivered that speech.
Wow, 10 years of preparation. Oh my goodness, look at that.
And it is up to you to give up or keep going on and keep that faith alive and keep that hope alive. So don't give up, no matter what, whether it's COVID, whether it's something else. Do not give up on your dreams and goals, and keep going and give back, pay it forward. Nothing is more empowering than that. Even in my toughest times, when I was in university and I was a single mom working 5 jobs to make ends meet and pursuing full-time education, taking care of my children single-handedly, I would still find a few hours a week actually, to go to and volunteer at the Student Disability Center on campus. And the one time I was assigned to this woman who was 65 years old, in a wheelchair, deaf, almost deaf, completely blind, and she was completing her degree with distinction. And just, typing up her assignments and taking her from class to class, it gave me so much empowerment and inspiration to pursue my own goals. So by giving back, we get so much more in return. So value that.
I so agree with you on that.
And you stay true to who you are.
And I remember that segment in your book. So anybody who's not read, they must pick up that book. I have it right here. They must pick up your book to read and feel inspired. It's been so wonderful to speak with you. Thank you for sharing so much of your wisdom and your resilience with me and with everybody who's going to engage with this content. You are amazing, and please continue doing all you are doing.
Thank you. You're amazing. Thank you for having me, and thank you for doing this. It's been a pleasure.
Please make sure to like and subscribe and ring the notification bell to keep updated with all our videos. Thank you.